Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we are taking a look at the CZ P-07. Before we start today's video, I want to make a quick apology to my regular viewers. I'm sorry I haven't been putting out very much content lately. We are selling our house and getting ready to move. I'll have more details on that for you guys in the future, but it's going to be really good for the channel. The place we're moving to has a good area for a shooting range, and I will be building at least a 100-yard range fairly shortly after we move there. So that's why I haven't been putting out as much content lately, but I wanted to take a few minutes today and talk about the CZ P-07. I've had this gun for a few months, and at first I tried to make a short. I tried 2 or 3 times to make a short and get my thoughts into it, and it was just simply not enough. So this will not be a first shots video. I do have a couple hundred rounds through this gun already, but we're going to put a few more mags through it today, and I'm going to tell you guys what I think about it, and at the end I will give my thoughts on if I think it is still relevant in 2024. I did pick this handgun up used on Gunbroker. They are still in production. You can still buy them, but only in black. And with regular 3-dot sights. I believe you can also get the suppressor ready models and the ones with tall sights. I didn't want that. I wanted the OD green, and this one happened to also come with the tritium sights, which I like a whole lot. So that's what we've got on here. I paid just about new price for it, and like I said, it is used. It did come with the Talon grips on it already, which is just fine. I was going to put a set on anyway, either Talon grips or a set of Handle It grips that I've had really good luck with on my P10s. These Talon grips don't have quite as grippy a texture as I would like, but it's a whole lot better than the nothing that is in this area on the stock grip. The reason I've wanted one of these for a long time is because this is a double single action polymer framed hammer fired pistol, and it's one that the Honest Outlaw has spoken very highly about for a long time. He is a fellow native Iowan and puts out a lot of really good content, and I've trusted his opinion a lot over the last several years, especially when it comes to handguns. He is an amazing shooter, and normally I think his opinions are spot on. So that's why I wanted to pick up a CZ P-07, and you have to admit the thing just looks cool, especially in that OD green color with the black slide. Just looks really cool. So as I said, it is double single action. I'm going to show clear here. After the slide is run, you've got a single action pull, and before that you've got double action. Now the double action is quite heavy. I'm going to guess around 10 pounds and a little bit rough. The single action is not heavy at all. In fact, it's fairly light. It's quite a bit of take up, and it's very spongy. Here's the reset, quite long, and then there's take up again after the reset before you get to that spongy wall. It's not really a wall, like I said, it's just kind of a, I wouldn't call it a rolling break like a Glock, but it's, yeah, it almost is. It's almost a rolling break, but it's fairly light, 3.5 to 4 pounds is my guess. It's not terrible on the pull. The reset is what really gets you there. It does have the option to decock right here. It's not the most comfortable to decock because as soon as you get the lever down halfway, the hammer falls, and you can see that pushing the decock lever actually moves the hammer backwards. So halfway through, the hammer falls and then kicks your thumb back up. It's kind of like a bad trigger slap, except on the edge of your thumb. Not the greatest design there, in my opinion. Anyway, let's go ahead and get shooting. I've got a 12-inch target there down at about 25 yards that we're going to start out with. It does come with 2 15-round magazines. I cannot find my other magazine for it at this time, but that's okay because it takes CZ P10 magazines as well, and I've got a bunch of those, both P10C magazines and P10F magazines, and it takes them just fine, and we'll show that in a little bit here. Let's go ahead and start from decocked, and we'll take the first shot double action. Again, this is 25 to 30 yards here. All right, we'll try that again until I can get a hit on the double action. I'm pulling high, which is not my normal for a bad trigger control. Yeah, same thing again. The double action is very heavy. That one I pulled low. Let's try to roll through it. All right, we'll shoot single action. There, I caught the bottom of the plate. I have been shooting very well lately with my striker fired guns, and this is throwing me for a loop. I may have to get up a little bit closer. This is unexpected. Try the double action one more time, and then I'm going to revert to single action. Nothing. I'm taking a chunk out of the hanger board high right, which is the exact opposite of where I normally shoot. There's a hit on double action. Good grief. Okay, it took me almost a full magazine to figure out my trigger press there. One thing, so the grip on this is nice and long, kind of like I like it, long in this dimension, but you still have kind of a long ways to go with that trigger, even in single action. And there's that reset again. It's got some definite over travel there, and it breaks beyond 90 degrees there, which is not my preference. Okay, I'll stick another magazine in here. This is a P-10C magazine, and you might be able to see there's a little bit of a ledge sticking out there because the base pads are slightly different. The base pads are a little bit different, but you really don't notice it when you're shooting it. Okay, we'll keep shooting in single action here. Okay, I'm getting in a little bit better rhythm there. The recoil impulse is pretty nice. It's a little sharper than you might think for a lighter slide. Here's something about the P-07. People talk about the slide being super light because it's got the internal rails there and it's fairly squat. It's really not a heck of a lot different than the P-10C in weight. And the P-10C has a traditional rails outside of the frame. If I remember right from my weighing, it's about 2 ounces lighter than that, but the P-10C has a barrel and slide that's a ½ an inch longer. So take that for what it's worth. It's really not all that much lighter than your normal striker fired slide. One thing I'm noticing here, and I don't remember if I noticed this last time or not, this might just be because it's a little bit cooler. With a high grip, and with this beaver tail, it's really nice to get a high grip on this gun. The ambidextrous decocker here digs into the side of my trigger finger. Every time it recoils, it kind of jumps around, and this corner right there, that edge, digs into my trigger finger. We'll see if it continues to do that. Got another P-10C magazine here. The decocker on the opposite side, the support side, also digs into the heel of my hand here, where my high grip goes. It's not going to be an issue as far as reliability goes because I'm not pushing in the down direction, it's more pushing up. So there's not going to be any reliability degradation from that. It's just not the most comfortable. Okay, I'm hitting the smaller targets pretty easy now. I just needed to get into my groove. Okay, yeah, that gets pretty uncomfortable. Let me try a little bit lower grip. So let me go ahead and clear the gun here, and I'll show you my current grip styles. I've been doing a lot of this lately on this gun. That's super uncomfortable. So I'm going to use a little bit more normal modern pistol grip and get all 4 of my fingers under the trigger instead of up like this. And then I'm gonna use that memory pad with my thumb. There's pretty good texture on that memory pad there, by the way. I'm gonna use that memory pad to put my thumb on and see if that keeps my hand out of the way of the big old chunky slide stop, slide release, and the decocker over here. Okay, so we'll shoot again. We'll shoot starting from double action here. Okay, that one I pulled quite a bit. Okay, that is much more comfortable. So if you're shooting the PewView style grip with this, it's not gonna be comfortable. Maybe come down to a normal modern pistol grip. And actually I found the recoil control for this particular handgun is slightly better that way too. Like you saw, it took me quite a bit to get used to that trigger. I've been shooting a couple hundred rounds a week on the CZ P-10F, trying to get ready to shoot competitions with that. And it's got a really, really decent striker fired trigger. Not the best, but it's really decent. This is probably the worst hammer fired trigger I've ever felt. Though, it's not terrible. It's shootable. The single action, like I showed you, is, again, checking to make sure this is clear. The single action is light, which makes it easy to get off accurate shots when you're used to it, but the travel on that single action trigger pull is just horrendous. It's really bad. Now, there are aftermarket options, and you guys know that I do put some aftermarket parts in even my CZ P-10s, not all of them. Cajun Gunworks makes a component kit to put in here to make the trigger better. From watching The Honest Outlaw, I've seen his Cajunized P-07 trigger and him demonstrating the trigger. It doesn't look all that much better. He says it is, so I may have to give it a try, but the kit is like over $250, and I just don't know that this handgun is worth that price of upgrades. If I were going to carry appendix, this would be a strong option because you can cover that hammer and block the trigger from being pulled as you're reholstering. But I don't plan to carry a gun this wide in the appendix position. It is a chunky gun. It's a very similar shape to the rest of CZ's polymer framed handguns, but it will not fit in any of the holsters because the frame is significantly wider. I could give you a measurement on that, but it doesn't really matter. It's just wider. It's not going to work in any of those holsters. And it would be just too thick to carry inside the waistband, at least for me. I probably wouldn't want to do that. So it's out for that purpose for me, and right now I've got better options for outside the waistband carry that I shoot a whole heck of a lot better. We're going to jump back to 50 yards, see if I can get some hits there now that I'm a little bit warmed up, and then we'll do some close-in speed comparisons between this and the P-10C that's very similar sized, and see what kind of bill drill times I can get with it up at 7 or 10 yards. All right, now that I'm warmed up a little bit, let's see if I can make some hits at about 50 yards here. I'll take the first shot double action, but not guaranteeing anything there. I'll try one more double action. Nope. All right, I'm gonna take a quick break from shooting this since I'm missing so much and shoot the P-10C. P-10C, same ammo. I'm not sure if I mentioned the ammo or not. This is S&B 124 grain FMJ. Yeah, okay. Very easy to make hits with that. Now let's see if I can get it together with the P-07. Shooting way high and right again. There's a hit. right, that is pathetic. Not very good on my part. Possibly not the gun's fault, although that trigger is, it's unpredictable and it's a little hard to get used to. I'm doing a little bit more shooting with the P-07 on a different day. As you guys can see from this video, I have had a lot of trouble getting any sort of accuracy at distance with this handgun. Way more trouble than any other handgun I've shot. You all know from watching my video on the Langdon Tactical Beretta 92, I don't shoot as well with double single action guns as I do with striker fired guns. But once I get warmed up with that Beretta, I can make hits all day long. The P-07 has not been that way. I have put a lot of time into shooting this handgun. Well, let's put another mag through it here at 50 yards with the 124 grain S&B and see if I can do a little bit better, paying extra attention to drawing that trigger straight back. I'm still high and right. The trigger has so much travel that it is hard to get that trigger straight back, and follow through seems to be extremely important on this handgun. And now I'm off again and can't hit for anything. All right, that was a little bit better. Still, not nearly as good as I can shoot with any other handgun, and that includes my Micro 9s. I suppose I shouldn't make statements like that without backing them up. So here's 10 shots at 50 yards with my SIG P365 XL. Pulled that one. Even with a heavier trigger, this one is significantly easier to hit with. Let's jump up to about 7 yards and we'll try some build drills from the low ready, but with both the P-07 and the P-10C, and we'll see how the times compare between the two of them. All right, before I start with the build drills here, I'm at 7 yards. I'm gonna put a couple of rounds on paper in the head box and just kind of see where I'm lining up. I'm gonna aim for the middle of the head box and we'll shoot these all single action. This is a terrible 7-yard group. Here's what we got, and you could see I was tending to go high and right. I managed to get some there in the middle, but I was tending to shoot high and to the right. That shot was actually more my aim point. I've never shot high and right before. I'm not exactly sure what that's about. All right, got enough rounds for a couple of A/B tests on build drills here. So I've got my shot timer. To make things even-ish, I am gonna start from single action on the P-07. I'll start from low ready, pointing about the base of the target. Okay, 270 and all A zones. Probably could have sped that up a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and grab a fresh mag and we'll do that one more time. The recoil really is pretty manageable. All right, I've got a 21 round P10F mag in here. Okay, I threw one wide right. Other than that, they were all A zones, and that was in a 199. Let's do another here. Okay, I miscounted. That was 5 shots. I am actually throwing most of them in the A zone, although I had a couple high right on that one. That was in a 150, but again, missed. Didn't take one shot and threw a couple outside. That was sloppy. 2-4-3. Okay, not terrible. I'm gonna paste my shots that are outside the A zone, and then I'll try it with the P10C. All right, 7 yards with the P10C. Had a little bit of trigger freeze on that one, 227, and there is one just at the top, just over the A zone in the neck. I expected to have more trigger freeze on the P-07 because of that long reset. I'm surprised that I didn't. Let me try that again. Try to get all hits this time. Okay, that was nice, slow, controlled, all good A-zone hits in a 249. Let me see if I can shoot at about that same cadence and get all A-zone hits with the P-07. Okay, there are a couple right on the line. Let me show you, and I'm at 271. I'm finding my sights are just a little bit harder to find afterwards. It doesn't quite settle back on to target quite as nice and predictably. All right, you can see a pretty wide distribution for all of those throughout the A zone. This shot and this shot were when I shot way too fast with the P10C. When I slowed it down, all of them were more in the center. These last 3 shots, this one, and this one, were all from that last string with the P-07. Again, I'm tending to throw them right, and I'm not sure why. I'm guessing it's because I haven't quite found the best place to put my trigger finger, and I'm somehow hooking it over to the side. I may have to shoot with my finger more through the trigger guard, maybe at like the first joint. Tell you what, I've got another magazine here. Let me take one more. Let me take another string with the P-07, putting my trigger finger at the first joint and see what I get. Okay, round in the chamber. I will mention that press checking is not easy because of the shape of the slide. You probably heard that talked about in other reviews, but you really don't have to press check because there's a little gap right here, and I don't know if you can see that on the camera or not, but I can see the brass through the side of the slide. So press checking is not altogether necessary. Okay, I'll start again from low ready and go first joint of the finger on the trigger. Okay, I did get some trigger freeze there because I wasn't able to get out quite far enough. Those were all good center hits, but in a 3-8-1. Let's do that one more time. Yeah, big time trigger freeze. Big time trigger freeze, and I threw one high right still. Okay. Not necessarily the gun's fault on all that, probably just something I have to get used to, but that was again in a 3-8-6 because of that trigger freeze. Okay, there is the only malfunction I've had with the P-07. I don't know if you guys could see what I just did on the camera. Took out a magazine and shot a steel target in front of me, a popper target. It was a good hit, but that was one-handed, and I got a stovepipe. So, not infallible. For this video on the CZ P-07, it is a nice feeling gun to shoot. There are quite a few things I wish CZ would change. I know that the controls and everything that I have a little bit of trouble with are CZ75 pattern. I would love an update to this gun. If CZ comes out with a Generation 2 of the P-07, I'll be really interested. What we need is pretty clear here, right? We need a better double action. We need a shorter reset on the single action, and the controls to be smoothed out and made not so bulky. Yeah, you can get to them pretty easily because they stick out so far. That's not quite as important as how they jam into your hands when you shoot them. Again, I do have a higher grip than most folks, but that is a consideration for me anyway. Cool looking gun, a lot of fun to shoot. Not as accurate for me as some other handguns, but is it still relevant in 2024? If you're looking for a compact size, double stack, double single action handgun with a fairly low bore axis for double single action, yes, I think it is still relevant if you train a heck of a lot and get used to that trigger. Otherwise, no, it really needs an update, and I hope that we get one soon. I've been hearing that we're gonna get some updates to the P10 line, which is amazing. I hope CZ sees the utility in a polymer framed, lighter weight, hammer fired handgun for those guys that like to inside the waistband carry with a compact size firearm. And like I said, I really hope they update the P-07, and I'm assuming the P-09 within the next couple of years. Anyway, guys, that's all I have for you today. Hope you enjoyed this quick little look at the P-07. Thanks again for watching. Y'all have a good one.